Okay, welcome everyone, James Parker. Just wanted to shoot a quick little video and just explain a little bit about impact and where our hands need to be at impact. Okay, and you can clearly see Tiger on the right, beautiful action. And one of the best things about Tiger, even compared to a lot of other pros, is just how far forward he gets his hands at impact. I mean, it's almost if we draw a line down from his left shoulder here, which obviously is the center of our golf swing, okay, that's the way you've got to start looking at your swing. Your left shoulder is the center. It's almost like he's getting his hands past his left shoulder almost before he's striking the ball. Okay, as long as you're controlling your hands and your wrists, you're always gonna deliver the club with forward shaft lean on the ball. Okay, and what we see here on the left side with a lot of people, a lot of amateur players, is just before they get to impact. So you see, full speed, you can see, to the naked eye, you say, oh, he's got a nice move, keeps his head still, he balances nicely on his left foot. But when you actually slow it down and you start looking at what's going on, you can see just how early he's dumping the club before impact. Alright, so, by the time he gets to here, that club's already gone. In a golf swing where we've produced lag in the downswing, his club head still needs to be up here somewhere. So there's a big issue going on with not keeping his angles and his wrists. But also, more importantly, just exactly where he gets his hands down to at impact, right? So here's his left shoulder. Underneath his left shoulder, straight line here is kind of over his left thigh. That's where his hands need to be. So, just upon close inspection, his hands are a good sort of 8 inches behind where they need to be at impact, and understanding this is important. So another way of looking at it would call it the aim point technique. I first learned this reading Bobby Clampett's Impact Zone book. So if you look from where Tiger's looking at his hands, okay, here's his eyes and he's looking down at his hands here. Well, a straight line down from there, which is where he's looking at, would be a spot on the ground down here. So, he's kind of looking down at this spot, or in his mind's eye, he's looking down at this spot, and he's trying to get his hands over that spot before he gets to impact. And this helps, produce the correct angles in his wrist, but also it's going to deliver the forward shaft lean. So you can see, just before impact here, Dennis, one of my clients up at Stonebridge, he's lost all his angles in his right arm and his right wrist. So just the idea of explaining where his hands need to be, all right, at impact, helps him significantly. And you see a lot of people just after impact look like this. This is the idea of, the kind of old-fashioned sort of teaching of swinging the club head, get that club head releasing. Right, I was taught a lot of that when I was growing up, but it just doesn't help you hit the ball well. It just doesn't produce an effective and efficient move. So, what we want to try and be feeling is really not letting the club head release until you're past impact. All right, that's the best way of explaining it. A good way of thinking about it would be if you've got a vertical line there through the ball, another line here, sort of at a 45-degree angle. You want the forward shaft lean at impact, but then you don't want to see this shaft getting to this forward 45-degree angle until that follow-through position. All right, so you can see there's his ball, there's the 45-degree angle, where you see he's already got that angle whilst his hands are underneath his shoulder. Right? We want your hands underneath your shoulder whilst we've still got forward shaft lean. So the shaft should actually still be leaning forward at this point, just like you see the pros. So a great little exercise I've got him doing which we've been working on for a few days, is just to try and get his hands moving forward and his hips moving forward and up, right? So this not only helps him drive his hips forward and up, kind of extending his body, really understanding that extension through the shot and understanding that sideways lean we want in the spine. And this exercise just kills 2 or 3 birds with one stone. I mean, it really does. I mean, it really helps him feel where his hands need to be through the shot. It helps him feel that forward shaft lean, and it also helps him feel what his hips have got to do through the shot, which is namely moving them forward and upwards, right? So just a few kind of exercises doing this, right? And then you can see there, if we're going down to there, if he was hitting a shot there at impact, you know, with a full swing, I mean, that impact position is totally different to that impact position. All right, so it's understanding this idea of where your hands need to be from your perspective. Okay, you've got to kind of look down at your hands. Oops, you've got to look down at your hands, and your hands have to be past your left foot. All right, so you've got a little spot on the ground here. And if you can kind of drive your hands down so they're covering that spot faster, right, the chances of delivering the club with forward shaft lean greatly increase, right? You look at that position, and you look at this position on the left, and they're totally different. In fact, the one on the right side is actually producing the opposite of what he's actually doing in his golf swing. All right, so that really helps you understand, you know, once you identify a pattern, you know, obviously a negative pattern, then trying to do the opposite of that pattern is a great way to go about making a change. All right, guys, I highly recommend practicing this drill on the right side. Just your hips start, in your setup position, drive your hips forward and up. And try and move your hands forward, you know, as well. What an extra little sort of bonus tip I told him was to try and feel as though he's bowing his left hand, right? Don't forget, in this golf swing, this club head is going to be the thing which is swinging the most, right? So by this point, the club head will be down here somewhere because, you know, with the momentum of the swing, the club head is swinging the fastest. But to get it in that position, it's almost like you have to feel as though you're doing that. All right, guys. Any questions or comments, please leave them below. I'd love to hear from you, and I'll speak to you soon. Cheers.